Hello coders, I hope you are coding well. In the previous video, we created submit test method, and in this method we wrote the code to calculate the correct answers, and then we saved the calculated data in the test result. And in today's video, we will complete this submit test API in our Spring Boot application, and after this we will test the functionality of this API in the Postman. So let's get started. So in our Spring Boot application in the test service implementation, as you know, we created this submit test method, and in the body of this method we are calculating the number of correct answers, and after this we are creating test result and we are saving all the data in the database. Now we need to complete the API and we need to create an endpoint to call this submit test method, and to do this we will open test controller, and from this controller we will copy this create test method, and after this we will go to the end of this class and we will paste this code here, and after this we need to update the name of the method and we will replace this create test with submit test, and then we need to update this TTO for the request body, and we will replace this test TTO with submit test DTO, and we will import it from quiz server dot DTO package. And after this, in the body of this method in the try block we need to use the test service, and after this we will call a method submit test, and in this case we will return the https OK status with the response body, and in the case of any exception we will return the message, and then for the status we will return bad request, and at the end we need to create a URL for this API, and for the URL we will give this as slash submit test, and with this our submit test API is completed. Now let's run our Spring Boot application. And as you can see, our application is up on port 8080 without any errors. Now let's go to the Postman and let's test our submit test API. And in the Postman, for the request type we need to give this as post, and after this we need to give the basic URL, which is http localhost colon 8080, and after this we need to give the controller URL, which is slash API slash test, and at the end we need to give the method URL, which is slash submit test, and then we need to pass the request body, and to do this we will click on this body tab, and after this we will click on raw, and in this request body we need to send the test ID, user ID, and the list of responses. And first of all we need to send the test ID, and I will send this as 1, and after the test ID we need to send the user ID, and I will send this as 2, and after this we need to send the list of question responses, and to do this for the key we will write responses, and we will give this as an array, and then in this array I will create the first object, and for each response we need to send the question ID and the selected option, and to give the question ID for the key I will give this as question ID, and after this for the value I will give this as 1, and after the question ID we need to give the selected option, and for the label I will give this as selected option, and after this for the value I will give the correct answer, which is hypertext markup language. And with this our object is completed for the first question. Now we need to add the answer for the second question, so we will duplicate this row, and after this we will update the question ID and we will give this as 2, and after this we need to give the selected option and we will give this as HTML, which is a wrong answer. And with this our request body is completed for this submit test API, and in this request I am giving the answers of 2 questions, and from these 2 answers only one is correct. Now we need to call the API, and to do this we will click on this send button, and as you can see we got the response status as 200 OK, and in the response body we got the test result DTO, And in this response we can see the total questions are 2 in this test, and after this the calculated correct answers are 1, and because of this the percentage is 50%. And at the end we are returning the test name and the username as well. And now let's go to our MySQL workbench to verify this entry. And in the MySQL workbench we will open quiz server db, and then we will open the tables, and after this we will open the data of test result. And as you can see we got one record in this table, and for the data we have correct answers as 1, and the percentage is 50, and the total answers are 2. And after this we have the test id and the user id. And that's it for today's video. In the next video we will write the code to call this API from our Angular application.